Hi, everyone, and welcome to my channel. To watch the rest of the series on Buddhism, you can click on this playlist on YouTube. So, today we're going to be talking about the role of the Bodhisattva and what that means in Buddhism and what it means when we say for the good of all beings. So, my Zen teacher, he says when we sit down in meditation to take every breath as if it's your last and for the good of all beings. So, as you sit down and meditate, know that you're sitting there for the good of all beings everywhere and breathe for all of them as you sit. So, this is a common saying in Buddhism that we work, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, that we work to get enlightened for the good of all beings. Now, what does this mean? What does it mean, the good of all beings? It's another saying that no matter how innumerable beings are, I vow to liberate them all. So, there's a role in Buddhism, and it's called the Bodhisattva role. And the idea of it is this is such a being that has been liberated from the cycle of birth and death in reality. This is a being that's became totally free from the bonds of action, whether in this life or another life, and only takes birth here and only lives and only exists on whatever plane, and possibly this earth plane, for other beings because it has no desire of its own. Such a being would not have anything it wanted. It wouldn't even have a longing to exist, but it would only stay in form out of its deep love and compassion for other sentient life forms, not just human beings, but for every being on every plane, because such a being would be one with God. So such a being would have God love and see such a deep interconnectedness between all of us and not have the ability to abandon other beings, which are only facets of itself. So, how does this apply to your life? Well, the way it applies to your life is this. So, as we work on ourselves, we're more, we become more, we are more, we project more energy, we're able to intuitively understand more, we're able to see more, and we're able to help people more. We're able to project more positive aura out from ourselves. So if you're spending all your time in very selfish pursuits, you're actually denying the universe the ability to make you an instrument of its will to be a part of this flow. And while you're in all these selfish pursuits and you're filled with greed and anger and lust, they're just a kind of uncaringness, just not doing the work on yourself, you miss vast potential to help other beings. And so when you finally start to understand that you can do nothing for anybody else except work on yourself, and you work with them to help you, and by working on you, you help them. Because the more I can sit down and practice developing my own consciousness, then I have more of a desire to be there for people, then I'm less selfish, then I naturally become, I don't want to take life, I don't want to behave cruelly to animals. I don't want to make fun of people. I don't want to treat people badly. Then when I work on myself, my guards down, and I don't create uptightness in people and they're more likely to open up to me. Then when I work on myself, the aura that surrounds me, the energy field around my body becomes more spacious, more attractive, so people sense that and they're more likely to come and talk to me. They're more likely to open up to me. So all of these things, I become more intuitive. I'm more able to understand the ultimate results of my actions. I'm able to look at the habits and the behaviors, and I'm able to make changes that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So why I'm saying this is we really do our spiritual practices for the good of all beings. That's the aim. That's the aim in most Buddhist traditions, is we practice for the good of all beings, not just beings that believe the same things we believe, not just beings that are doing spiritual practice too. We practice for beings that wouldn't even want to be around us. We practice for beings that hate us. In a talk Ram Dass said years ago, he's like, we don't just do this for people that can't be here, he's like, we serve people that wouldn't be here even if they could. So it doesn't mean that we only practice for people that understand what we're doing. We practice for people that make fun of us. We practice for people that would do us violence, anything. We practice for people that oppress others. We practice for life itself. And so Mahatma Gandhi said, you might think what you do is insignificant, but it's very important that you do it. And so the idea of this is, we might, if you're listening to this video, we're not yet in the role of Bodhisattva, which is this enlightened being that either comes back into form or like the Buddha stays in form in order to liberate all beings. And that's what the Tibetan Buddhism tradition talks about a lot, is beings that it continually are reborn, that continually reincarnate just in order to serve others, just in order to spread the Dharma. But even those of us that are still in the process of our awakening, we can live as a conduit to bring light to other beings. We can become less selfish. And what I found is that the more open I am to the universe, the more things come into my life and opportunities come into my life to serve. And we don't even really have to be conscious about it. We just say, let me do your will, God. Let me surrender to the path. And as I do the work on myself, the opportunities will unfold for me and for those that I come in contact with. So really all we're trying to say here is that we practice as you do your practices to work on your consciousness, as you sit and pray, or you sit and meditate, or as you listen to a song, or as you go out and do your job. Whatever you do your journal or your book or your yoga or whatever makes you go to church, whatever makes you feel healthy. Remember, you're doing that for the good of all beings. Even if you're sitting alone in your room meditating with racing thoughts and you feel nobody's around you, nobody's there for you, and it's a Friday night and you could be out partying, but instead you're in here working on your consciousness. Remember, you're doing very powerful work. You're doing it for the good of all beings, and beings here and on other planes, their spirits notice you, and you're not practicing alone. And really the only pursuit in the universe that's worthwhile is to work on our own consciousness and to help other beings along the path. It's the only thing of any real satisfaction, and it's the only thing somewhat lasting within the illusion.